Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Gallegos. I'm with executive producer Jeff Hickman, as well as Bruce McLean, producer on Star Wars: The Old Republic, and we are here to check out the Rise of the Hutt Cartel expansion.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
So I guess we're just going to jump right into it.
Sure.
Starting with the story.
So
I'm in a group with you.
what we're doing here is starting the Rise of the Hutt Cartel story, and I think have you just started the conversation?
Yeah.
We'll let it play through.
So Jeff, you know, while the cutscene's kind of playing, the audio is still in the background, but I guess, you know, what was kind of the overall goal for the Rise of the Hutt Cartel expansion?
Now, we really wanted to provide an opportunity, especially for our Elder Game players, to continue to experience Star Wars: The Old Republic, you know, in new and interesting ways. So, Rise of the Hutt Cartel gives you 5 more levels to play through, from level 51 to level 55. Gives you a new planet, Planet Makeb, an interesting and mysterious place that the Hutt Cartel has invaded for their own nefarious purposes. Along with the Planet Makeb, there are new stories and a complete new storyline for both the Empire and the Republic for you to experience, as well as some side quests or other types of quests that we're introducing specific to Rise of the Hutt Cartel. This includes macro binoculars and seeker droids, which you'll find out more about later, as well as you know, a completely revamped End and Elder game at level 55 with new and interesting things.
So we see Bruce is actually kind of popping through some of the story here, and the important thing about the story that I guess a lot of people that maybe have played for a while, level capped, you know, they completed their character story, but the point of the Rise of the Hutt Cartel is that it continues your character story.
Absolutely. So it actually continues the story of both the Empire and the Republic and gives you an opportunity to pick up where you left off, no matter where you left off, in your personal class story, and continue on to help save the galaxy, no matter who you are.
So we come to Makeb, but Makeb isn't a Hutt planet. That's what I thought when I first heard about it, was that we were going to be traveling some sort of planet owned by the Hutts. No, Makeb is like something that the Hutts have invaded.
Absolutely. The Hutts have found a specific resource on Makeb that they're very, very interested in because it's very powerful in the galaxy. And so the Hutts have been secretly mining this resource in order to use it for their own purposes. And both the Empire and the Republic are locked in a stalemate in the Galactic War and have decided to come to Makeb to take advantage of this resource also.
So, you know, I know that right now we're looking at a loading screen, but I think the loading screen is kind of important because I know that you guys were trying to do something different with the world design of Makeb to make it feel like, you know, unlike the other environments.
Yeah. So what you're going to see is these gigantic mesas sticking up out of the oceans of Makeb that the inhabitants of Makeb have built their homes and their cities on, and you're going to begin adventuring on, above, and below these mesas.
So we're going to jump into this in just a second, but another thing I wanted to go over is, you know, I know that along with the new planet Makeb, there was also the goal of adding new content to the old world too, like the old content. You wanted to kind of revitalize that for players going through the 50 to 55 levels.
Definitely. So especially with macro binocular and seeker droids, you'll find that you're going to go back to to some of the older planets from the original game, Dromankos, Coruscant, you know, many of these other planets, which you're going to go back and visit as part of the macro binocular and seeker droid quest lines.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that's really cool, is that these macro binoculars, you know, which if everyone's unfamiliar with those, you know, Luke pulls them out in the original movie to kind of scan the horizon. But the cool thing about them is they're not just there for like an effect or like a one-off daily quest. You guys have actually integrated the seeker droid and the macro binoculars into like a storyline quest.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as you play through these stories, they have a little bit to do with the Hutt Cartel, and they're kind of spin-offs from that. And I think also what's interesting is they give us new systemic technology to use for future quests and updates. So you'll see macro binoculars and seeker droids used in other ways throughout the coming months and years within the game.
And that's something I think that's an interesting point to hit on. Rise of the Hutt Cartel is obviously a paid expansion, but you guys have really revamped the way that you guys think about content expansions along the way, or content, updates, in the sense that earlier on they were a little bit slower maybe at first, and now you guys have like a hard goal of 8 weeks or sooner.
Every 8 weeks we put something new out for the players to take advantage of, and that's not counting some of the smaller updates we do, and often some of the cartel market updates we do. These are content updates, whether there be a new flashpoint, a new operation, a new war zone, a new event, something new for players to do every 8 weeks. We're committed to it. We've hit it for the last 6 months, and we're going to hit it as far into the future as I can foresee.
So, I think some other good points to kind of hit upon as far as the Rise of the Hutt Cartel expansion is that it does add, the Makeb binoculars, the secret droids, and it adds the planet Makeb and the quests associated with that. But there's also other stuff like, for lack of a better term, like the quality of life things that you guys are kind of bringing out with the game too, to make it kind of, just better for players.
Yeah, it's always kind of smaller things that people, I think, pick up on the most, especially our veteran players. Whether it be a taxi route that has always been painful to the players that we're now making less painful because we make it smoother and easier to get from one taxi to another, or whether it be things like hood toggle, or whether it be bigger systems like the achievement system that comes out with version 2.0, which launches at the same time as Rise of the Hutt Cartel. But these achievements are things that everybody gets, starting at level 1 all the way up to level 55. New and interesting things that you can do that you get achievements and rewards for.
And then outside of the obvious initial level cap raise that you get better stats, you obviously become slightly more powerful, but it's I guess what is being done to the classes individually, in the sense of giving them additional powers or talents.
So not only you're going to level 55 as you mentioned, and each one of your abilities raises in power slightly because of that, but we've taken a complete new look at our talent trees for each one of our player characters, and I think adjusted them and rebalanced them as necessary for each class that you play. So you're going to see different talents. You're going to see different different distribution of talents within the talent trees, and that goes for everybody, not just people who bought Rise of the Hutt Cartel, but everybody within the game.
I know that you guys are also, alongside the expansion, pushing out update 2.0, which is for people regardless of whether you buy the expansion.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about the Scum and Villainy 2.0 update?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest things in 2.0, there's probably two things that everybody gets for free, and I've mentioned both of them already: rebalancing the classes, as well as this grand achievement system, thousands of achievements that everybody is going to have access to, whether you're a free-to-play player, a subscriber, whether you buy Rise of the Hutt Cartel or not. And then we've also got a whole bunch of things that we're doing at the level 55 mark that are there to reinvigorate the Elder game. So this is one new operation, a new is it a hard mode operation, Bruce?
Yes.
A new hard mode operation,
So
Terror from Beyond.
All new hard mode operation, all new level 55 operation,
Right.
which is Legions of Scum and Villainy, and then a new hard mode version of Terror from Beyond, which is level 55.
Right, and then four new flashpoints, four new hard mode flashpoints.
Yep, 4 new hard
At level
mode.
55.
They're level 55 flashpoints. It's Hammer Station, Mandalorian Raiders, Katamimu, and Aethys.
Ooh, good.
So the goal actually is to make some of that old content still relevant for new players too,
Absolutely.
because I remember Aethys and the other ones, those are stuff I did relatively early on
Absolutely.
in my game.
So pretty significant changes to those to make them interesting for level 55s, plus a completely new way that we look at the end game gear progression. We think better, more straightforward, more understandable for the players, that people who hit level 50 will start to see right away into their level 55 and beyond.
Obviously, one of the things that goes into making an expansion, though, that I don't think people always appreciate, especially with Star Wars, is that it isn't just enough that you guys can write, new quest dialogue and you write it out and it appears as text. Everything is voiced.
Absolutely.
In 4 languages, I believe.
3 languages: English, French, and German.
And so then everything has to be recorded. There's quest, and the storyline that you guys are doing for the planet Makeb is both, obviously it's Republic and the Imperial side
Right.
for every single quest.
Right.
And every single class, I mean. So one of the things I was wondering is why, make a game about the Hutts, with kind of an emphasis on the Hutts. The game up until now has had a really big focus on, I still think the expansion focuses on the conflict of the Empire versus the Republic, but the Hutts kind of take a center stage in this, rather than just being like, now Hutta, a planet you would visit and you would maybe have a little bit of interaction with them.
You want to take a shot?
Sure. So the Hutts are a great rogue element. As we've seen in the previous storyline updates, there have been other rogue elements introduced in the new operations, for example. They're a great rogue element that both the Republic and Empire can deal with.
And we think I think they're super iconic. Everybody understands what a Hutt is, and I think we bring some interesting elements to exploring, who Hutts are, and bring some real interest to them in the expansion.
So things don't obviously go well when you first land on the planet Makeb.
That's true.
That's the thing that I think is really interesting about this planet is that because of the way the atmosphere works, smaller ships are the only thing that can really make it in the atmosphere. So the planet kind of has these like sky hooks, these space elevators. That's how everyone gets around. It's interesting for the Republic and Empire to be fighting over a planet where neither of them are actually. Well, it's not one of their planets, right? Up until now, every other planet, with the exception of like, Hutta, is like always been something where one faction clearly owned it,
right.
Or maybe it was like this was clearly part of the Republic, a contested world, and this one isn't even a contested world as much as it's just like an unclaimed world.
Yeah, it's a neutral territory, if you will.
So once you hit level 55, obviously people are going to grind through the cap. What's one of the things that you guys have really wanted to give people to continue to do, after they've capped out the level this time?
Boy, I think we all have a lot of answers for that question, so let me take my first shot at it. So I think the new endgame gear progression, I think, is a really big deal. I know that at level 50, since the launch of the game, to me as a player, it's been a little confusing as to exactly what I should do, what's the next thing I should approach. I think we've cleared that question up quite effectively. So the endgame gear progression, I think, is really exciting. I think our operations get better and better and better. The feedback that we've been getting from testers, both internal and external, on our Scum and Villainy operation is unbelievable. And some of the videos I've seen from it are great as people are trying to beat this thing on public test. And I also want to call out the reputation system. I think it's, again, a really extensible system that you're going to see a lot more of as we move forward, with Rise of the Hutt Cartel and beyond.
Okay, Bruce. I think Bruce feels you handled that pretty well. Yeah, I think that's always going to be one of the things that people are wanting to make sure that even if they're doing like the Seeker Droid missions and doing the macro binocular missions, that they're still doing it for a reason outside of just
100%.
Getting some experience. So the expansion itself, it comes out April 9th for early access.
Start, right.
And so how can people get early access?
So if you have early access, you already know it because you pre-purchased during our early access promotion, which was back in December and January. If you didn't pre-purchase, then you and the rest of us will all be playing on April 14th.
Though if you do pre-order right now, you still get benefit with special in-game items that anybody who pre-orders the game will receive.
And then the everything comes out at the same time. The update 2.0 comes out right alongside the Rise of the Cartel expansion.
Right. The live date for Game Update 2.0 is April 9th, the same day as the early access starts.
If you guys could take, one last stab at, like someone like me, right? I played the game very passionately for 4 or 5 months when it first came out, finished my storyline, kind of moved on, For people like that who are, obviously, there's a lot of us out there, with Rise of the Hutt Cartel, what do you think is like the real reason we should come back?
All the things that you thought were missing from our game are here. Come back and give it a try. All
right. That's a quick overview and a large kind of look at the Rise of the Hutt Cartel expansion. Again, it comes out April 14th, April 9th if you were getting early access, alongside the 2.0 update. And for a lot more on Star Wars The Old Republic, keep it locked to IGN.